Zillow just released their mid-year price predictions for Spokane, Washington, and things are looking a little grim. We have a few others to look over, and we're going to review some predictions that I made at the beginning of this year to see how we are doing so far. So make sure to stick around. Hey there, my name's Haydn, Halsted, your real estate resource here in the Spokane, Washington area. All I ask is that if you find value from this video, that you just hit the subscribe button and like it down below. It means a ton to me and helps me reach more people looking to move to the Spokane area just like you. Now let's get into these numbers. So Zillow has released their mid-year price forecast for all of the United States. And so you can look at a national level, and they predict that home prices are going to go up just less than 1% across the entire country in the year 2025. They're guessing 0.9% at an average home price of $366,000 across the entire country. Now, the amazing part is that we can zoom into Spokane and see what they predict here. And the line flattens out just a little bit. They're predicting a year-over-year price increase of 0.5%, which is pretty low. I mean, especially compared to what we've seen in the last few years, prices have gone up in large double-digit amounts. But this should give a lot of people some hope with the market. One, if you're a buyer in the market, you're looking for a time where our home price is going to go up a lot, or are they going down? Well, most likely home prices are not going down, but they are maintaining where they're at. If you're worried about 2025 being a crazy year for home sales, it could. These predictions are always a little variable because we just don't know. There's so many variables that can go on in the economy that change these numbers very rapidly. But prices are supposedly only supposed to go up 0.5% according to Zillow Group's data. And we will see how far we've come so far this year in just a moment once we review some of the predictions that I had made at the beginning of the year. But we're going to jump over to CoreLogic. CoreLogic is like one of the #1 real estate databases in the entire country, and they think there's a little bit more grim news for the Spokane area in 2025. They believe that we are in the top 5 markets that are most at risk for home price declines. They believe that we are above a 70% probability of seeing home prices decline. Now, again, I always want to put this in perspective. Just because we put the word decline in it, I think people jump to prices are coming down $50,000, $100,000. They could also just come down 0.5%, which would be like $2,000, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So just take that with a grain of salt, even though there's a high probability, or they believe there's a high probability of home prices coming down next year. It could still be like by not a lot. They don't put out what they believe that number to be. So far, our 2 major people that have released their guesses, Zillow and CoreLogic, which are 2 of the largest data brokers for real estate in the country, are believing 0.5% or less at this point. Now, I will make another one of these videos towards the end of the year, so beginning of 2025, once all of the national real estate data people have released their guesses. So Redfin, Realtor.com, Fannie Mae, things like that. And so if you want to stay more up to date on the market and how these things are changing, how are these predictions changing, make sure to just hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you can get notified next time I release a video. Now, touching base on Fannie Mae, the government entity that buys mortgages, here are their home price predictions over the next 8 years, which real estate is a long game. So I like the fact that it's not 8 years, over the next 4 years, 2028 is where I was getting that number from. So the most pessimistic view would be 7.5% over the next 8 years, or sorry, I keep saying 8, over the next 4 years. So about 2% a year, give or take. Their middle of the road guess is 20% over the next 4 years. And so that would be like 5% a year. And then their like high optimistic guess is 31%. So I'm going to remove the optimistic one because I feel like that looks a little too optimistic to me. And there's a large jump between the pessimistic and the middle panel. So if you take the average of those two, it puts you right around 4.5% increase year over year, which would be a relatively normal market. But who knows? Like it could be 1% next year, 0.5% like Zillow is saying, and then next year it could be 13% and make up some of that difference, things like that. Now, in regards to interest rates, it's a big conversation right now. I'm recording this video on September 17th. It's not going to come out for about a week though. And so by that time, the Federal Reserve will have met and likely dropped the Federal Reserve interest rate, but we will see if anything happens with the mortgage rates. rates. Mortgage rates are currently at about 6.1% to 6.2%. And so mortgage rates have really already bought in at the price, at the interest rate cut. They have already priced it in, and we've been doing the lower interest rates for about a month now. And we'll talk more about this large change in just a moment, but here are a few predictions of where interest rates are going to go over the next 12 months. The Mortgage Bankers Association didn't put a specific mortgage rate prediction in their August economic forecast, but the latest one that they released in May showed that they believed rates falling from 6.4% in January to 5.9% in December. So they believe 5.9% by the end of this year. Fannie Mae, their August 2024 forecast predicts that we will start 2025 around 6.2 and then trickle downwards 0.1% each quarter, landing somewhere around 5.9% by the end of the year. And then Freddie Mac hasn't released anything yet, but they agreed that interest rates are going to go down steadily throughout the year. But we're looking at 5.9% on that's what they're predicting next year ends at, is 5.9%, and we're at 6.1 right now. So they're really, if they're only predicting that small drop throughout the year, it's not getting much better from here. So we're predicting for 2025 to basically have the exact same prices that we have right now and the exact same interest rates we have right now. So I was just having a conversation with a realtor buddy of mine here in town, and he was asking me, why do you think there are no buyers right now? Like, he was like, I have no buyers, and he's a very successful realtor. Buyers are kind of slow for me right now. And it's like, why are people waiting? So I'd love to see if you could leave a comment down below and let me know what makes you feel uncomfortable about getting into the market. Are you waiting for prices to drop, interest rates to drop? Are you nervous about the election? Like, you feel like if your candidate doesn't win, the housing market is going to be drastically affected? Please leave me a comment down below. I'd love to talk about it and hear from you guys. Now, at the beginning of this year, in January, I released a video that was about like my top predictions for the real estate market here in Spokane. And so I'm going to go through these really quickly and tell you where we've ended up so far. So the first prediction I made was that interest rates were going to hold for the first half of the year at that higher rate that they were at, which I don't remember exactly where we were at the beginning of the year. I think around 6.4 or so before we kept going up into the high sevens. But I said that interest rates would hold for the first half of the year, and then we'd have about a 0.5 to 0.75% drop, which is looking to be about what happens by the end of this year, even though mortgage rates have already taken a huge nosedive from about 7.8% down to the 6.1% that we're at. So the Federal Reserve rate has not changed, but the mortgage rates have changed. I also believed that closed sales would go up. I said that we'd see about 1,500 more homes sell in the Spokane area, which was not quite true. We did go up, but only about 0.5% year to date. So we have really only seen about 30 more homes close this year than last year. And so that's really been the biggest struggle on just the general housing economy. Realtors, contractors, anybody that gets paid when a house closes, that's really that's been affecting the most right now. Third, I said that home prices would go up about 4%. We've only seen an increase of about 1.2% year over year, so been quite a bit slower. 4, average interest rates would be around 6.5, and we're likely to end 2024 a little bit better than that. But for the most part, that was about the average interest rate for 2024. 5th, I predicted that affordability wouldn't get any better, which was true because home prices have continued to go up even just slightly, even though interest rates went up to nearly 8% and have come back down since then. So we've seen an increase of about 1.5% from the start of the year, and now a decrease of a little over 1.5% to end the year, but really nothing has changed from beginning to end at this point. 6th, I said that investors would come back into the market. Many people were struggling in 2023 because the market took such a nosedive, and they were predicting that their houses would sell, like flippers would sell their properties for a lot more. And so there were a lot of people that got themselves into pretty bad financial situations. This was a yes and no. I've seen definitely more flips happening in the Spokane area because the market was a little bit steadier. They just had to price in and be more competitive with their offers to sellers so that they could plan on being on the market probably a little bit longer, not getting as high of prices as they were. And so they just had the opportunity to reevaluate the market and make offers to sellers that made more sense to them. But I've really not seen any people buy rental properties this year. Some of my friends that are professional real estate investors have not bought any rental properties because the interest rates were too high and the cash flow just didn't make sense, along with higher insurance rates and taxes that are really just making it impossible to cash flow a property here in the Spokane area. And then lastly, I said that new construction construction prices would stay the same, but they've really come down quite a bit. If you look at the graph, the peak high for new construction homes was around 510,000 in Q1 of 2023. And now over the last year and a half, we've come down over 10%, down to the mid 450,000s. There has been a drastic drop in new construction home prices to where there's really not that big of a difference between new construction prices and resale home prices. So now the two are competing against each other a lot more, because now a lot of people have to make a decision. Do I want to go buy a resale home that maybe has a more mature neighborhood, it's a larger home, bigger backyard, larger lot size, or do I want to go get the brand new shiny home that has nothing for me to do? Like I can just move right in and not think about anything. And these houses are being built and sold right next door across the street from each other. And so I've seen a lot more head-to-head competition between new construction and resale homes because the prices are so similar. So let me know down below, what are your predictions for the rest of 2024 and leading into 2025? Are you jumping into the market in 2025? Are you jumping into the market in the winter time when prices tend to come down low? Let's have a conversation down below. I'd love to chat with you. And if you are making the move to Spokane or you want more information, you can use the links down below in the description to schedule a meeting on my calendar, download our relocation guide, or a whole lot more. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.